Focusing on nutrition after a surgery has been shown to mitigate or decrease our muscle losses in size, as well as our muscle losses in strength. It has also been shown to decrease our risks of infection and rehospitalization after a surgery. Even in young adult males, they can experience 5.5% loss in muscle size and strength even only 1 week after surgery. And in older adults, these rates are even higher. And part of the reasoning is because between 22 and 36% of individuals don't get the right kinds of nutrition after a surgery. Focusing on our nutrition has been shown to decrease the muscle losses, not only in the surgical area, but also in the opposite side and in the rest of the body. Because our body is going to be mobilizing our muscle proteins in order to repair that surgical site. We can mitigate these muscle losses as well as improve our chances of doing a really good and fast recovery and decrease the risk of rehospitalization by focusing on a couple of really important factors of our nutrition right after a surgery, which is what we're going to go into with the rest of this article. Immediately after a surgery, oftentimes our appetite is significantly reduced as the anesthesia and all these different things are wearing off. So one of the ways in which we can get nutrition in as quickly as possible is through nutritional supplements and protein shakes. And these can be a really great way to start fast tracking our recovery and start fast tracking getting these amino acids in our body so that we can signal to our body that we don't need to take these proteins from our already existing muscles. So immediately after you wake up from surgery, it can be beneficial to take a protein supplement of essential amino acids, or sometimes just branched chain amino acids will do the trick. And shooting for just a little small dose of that can start the process of getting that nutrition in. Then within a couple of hours after you wake up, you can start to do things like a protein shake or something along those lines. And this will also be a good way to get the protein into the body without causing too much gastrointestinal distress in your stomach. Then hopefully within 24 hours, you can start focusing on full meals again. So this would be a full meal containing at least 20 to 25 grams of protein, as well as carbohydrates and normal fats, hopefully from a whole food source so that it's not super processed. Now, during this time period after surgery, we want to focus a little bit more on lighter meals as opposed to big heavy meals, because those heavier meals are going to be the ones that cause us that gastrointestinal distress. So focus on a meal that you like, that's a little bit lighter, and also crosses that meal threshold, giving us around 20 to 25 grams of protein. In the weeks after a surgery, during the rehabilitation process, we still want to keep a very much protein focus when it comes to our nutritional strategies to fast track our rehab. And the amount of protein that we want to take in during the day is between 1.2 and 2.0 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. So we want to be getting in that much protein per day, but actually our protein distribution is also another factor that can either enhance or decrease our muscle protein synthesis rates. So how we want to distribute that protein throughout the day is in 3 to 4 larger meals with larger boluses of protein. And we want to hit between 25 and 30 grams at each sitting so that we can reach what has been sometimes termed as a meal threshold for protein in order to initiate and signal our bodies that muscle protein synthesis can occur. So if we dip below that meal threshold, one area that a lot of people kind of mess this up is at breakfast. We'll have a higher carbohydrate and lower protein breakfast, sometimes between 5 and 10 grams of protein. And this has shown to be not enough to stimulate muscle protein synthesis rates. So they've done comparative studies looking at 10 grams of protein in the morning versus 30 grams of protein in the morning. And the muscle protein synthesis rates, even when daily protein is standardized across groups, they're 25% higher in the groups that have early morning protein. So that 25 to 30 grams in the morning is really important to maximize muscle protein synthesis rates. So we're going to shoot for between 1.2 and 2.0 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight each day. And we're going to start that protein consumption in the morning. Now, what are the best sources? What is the best way for me to get in this relatively high amount of protein? And the best sources are typically ones that are lowly processed and contain high proportions of what we would call essential amino acids. So essential amino acids are basically amino acids which our body cannot create on our own. So amino acids, they're the building blocks of protein. So they're exactly what we break proteins down to before we build them back up within our bodies. So we want to have sources that have high concentrations of those essential amino acids, especially some of the ones that are responsible for signaling the muscle protein synthesis cascade, the mTORC1 pathway, but that's not as important for us to recognize. So the best sources that have really good, rich amounts of these essential amino acids are typically meat sources. So they're going to be meat, fish, eggs, things like that. Now, you can get this from vegetarian sources, tofu, beans, soy, wheat protein, etc. However, it's important for us to know two things. Number one, traditionally, these protein sources don't have that same rich profile in essential amino acids. It just gives us a higher proportion of amino acids that our body can already make on its own. And number two, a lot of times these amino acids are not as bioavailable to us as the ones found in the meat sources described earlier. And part of the reasoning behind this is because biochemically, these proteins might be a part of some of the structural molecules that are insoluble to us as humans and things like that. So you can get it done on a vegetarian diet, don't get me wrong. However, it's going to be more important for you to be protein savvy, and it's going to be more important for you to be at the higher end of that protein consumption spectrum in order to have the same muscle protein synthesis rates as someone who is going the easier route, which will be getting that protein from a meat source like meat, fish, eggs, dairy, etc.